Coming up on this Senior Farewell edition of GWeek, we have the latest on the controversial divestment bill approved by the Student Association Senate. Learn about the work behind making the new neuroscience major a reality.
And GW says bonjour to French President Emmanuel Macron at a special town hall at the Smith Center. All this and more on GWeek. We begin this week with the latest essay news that has captivated campus attention. After weeks of intense debate around campus, the GW Student Association passed SR 18S21, better known as the Protection of the Palestinian Human Rights Act. The measure passed 18-6, with 6 senators abstaining from voting.
And the current SA administration's final meeting of the year focused on the measure, which called on GW administration to divest from companies that supported Israel and its related causes. President LeBlanc swiftly responded to the results and confirmed to the GW community that the SA results did not reflect the views of the university. And while SA President Pique Senchua stood firmly against the measure, issuing a joint statement condemning it with EVP Sidney Nelson, he said he would not stand in the way of the Senate's decision. Jewish students at GW were appalled by the voting results, and graduate senior Brady Forrest, a candidate for executive vice president this past election, also came under fire for alleged anti-Semitic Facebook posts several years ago. However, in a vote to censure Forrest for his actions, the Senate failed to reach a 2/3 majority necessary to pass such a measure.
After failing to secure GW PD presence for the first planned meeting on April 16th, SA leadership decided to cancel the hearing and push it back a week to April 23rd. The meeting was initially scheduled in GW's Funger Hall, but the rescheduled meeting saw it move to the Dorothy Betts Marvin Theater on the first floor of the Marvin Center. Students attending the meeting each received 2 minutes to share their thoughts on the proposed bill, with alternation between students with pro-Israel and pro-Palestine views. Some students took the opportunity to speak about personal experiences involving their extended families, and in a few cases, their own experiences here in the United States and abroad.
And former SA Senator Joe Vogel was among the most outspoken students of the night. Upon taking the microphone, the ousted senator reprimanded the Senate for failing to protect GW students by censuring Forrest. He refused to yield the microphone after his 2 minutes expired, and his impassioned plea combined with the defiance received a standing ovation from the pro-Israel portion of the audience. And students at the microphone were not required to disclose their identities, an option which several pro-Palestine students opted for upon speaking.
The climate of the bill across campus changed in the days leading up to the hearing. What began as a boycott, divest, sanctions proposal, known by its BDS acronym, quickly grew to represent a debate of anti-Semitism at GW. Proponents of the bill saw its success as a human rights victory, while opponents expressed their feeling unrepresented and unsafe at a university with such a high Jewish population and presence. Some students expressed those concerns with GWeek during a protest against anti-Semitism in Kogan Plaza. Take a look.
What brings me out here today is the fact that I'm very involved in the GW Hillel and the Jewish Student Association, and I think it's so important that whether or not you're Jewish, it just matters that the issue of anti-Semitism is so broad and it connects to every single race, every ethnicity, every religion, and by us being affected by it, it's just allowing other people to persecute other groups as well. And I think it's so important that no matter what you look like, no matter where you come from, everyone comes out and supports this issue, because it won't stop until someone condemns the SA's actions on Monday night.
I guess the reason we're out here today is because we sponsored a piece of legislation known as the Palestinian Human Rights Act, or the Protection of Palestinian Human Rights Act, excuse me. And we felt like the conversation on campus got pretty fiery, and people on both sides had a lot of emotions and a lot of passion. But one thing that we don't stand for is anti-Semitism on campus, and one thing that we were really disappointed about was the not censuring Brady Forrest, and then having this vote happen right after. I think it was a very contentious moment on our campus, and I think that if we can just show our support to Jewish students, that's the least that we can do as senators.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to note we're wearing the keffiyeh today to show that it's not mutually exclusive to support the protection of Palestinian human rights and also stand against anti-Semitism. And I think there's been a lot of conflation between the piece of legislation which we introduced and Brady's outrageous comments.
Yeah.
So that's something that I know I certainly.
And we just wanted to make sure that students knew that like that isn't a place of hate that we're coming from. Like that isn't something that we agree with, and that you don't have to mutually exclude Palestinians or Israelis or Jews. You can support all types of students. You can support all students, and without being anti-Semitic, and like still advancing their human rights.
The Israeli-Palestinian debate on campus does not appear to be going away anytime soon, and GWeek will have the latest developments when we return in the fall. Shifting gears now to the biggest only at GW moment of the year, French President Emmanuel Macron held a special town hall with GW students at Smith Center.
Around 800 students were lucky enough to win the ticket lottery to see the French leader answer questions on a variety of international topics. The town hall was Macron's only public civil engagement event with non-U.S. government officials throughout his 3-day state visit. The first official state visit of any foreign leader for the Trump administration.
And before arriving to Smith Center, Macron gave a speech to a special joint session of Congress and spent the afternoon with civil rights icon Congressman John Lewis. The pair visited the MLK Memorial and surprised the entire campus by eating lunch at GW's Tater Tot Paradise, Tonic.
Then in another surprising move, Congressman Lewis joined President Macron as he walked across campus to get to the Smith Center on G Street. The unplanned walk sparked a flurry of students and lucky onlookers to shake hands with the French leader and the civil rights icon. And President Macron posted a video of the moment the two parted ways at the corner of 22nd and G on Twitter. The caption read, "He fought for civil rights with Martin Luther King. Very honored to have Representative John Lewis by my side in the streets of Washington."
Plenty of only at GW moments were made that day, and joining us now is GWeek's Rudy Venkatesan, who was live inside the Smith Center for the special GW TV Facebook Live coverage of President Macron's visit. So, Rudy, what were some of the highlights from that?
Well, as you both were watching it, it was really interesting to see what questions students wanted to pose to Macron. They were all very heavily policy-based, and Macron answered very candidly. Amongst some of the most interesting questions was the one on mass migration. I don't know if you guys remember that too entirely, but the question was posed as that mass migration from the Middle East and Africa has a direct correlation between an increase in mass murders and mass sexual violence in Europe. Macron took a pretty good stance on it when he said that he actually does not agree with that assessment that the question posed. He said that he doesn't believe the phenomenon is directly linked from migration in Africa and the Middle East, and that actually led from a swarm of applause from the audience. It was really interesting to see. He actually said that, yes, there is a need for more security in society, but it's not a new concept. It's not anything that I guess they hadn't seen before. He said if there is a causation for it, it's because of the fact that society has failed to integrate these people who've migrated into society. It's not anything to do with who is migrating to Europe.
And I noticed that there was a trend during his third day here. He spent most of the first 2 days on his visit with President Trump. We've seen the images of them having like a bromance on the night of the state dinner. But it was interesting that at the joint session of Congress and here at GW, he was fighting against nationalism. What can you tell us about that? Why was he doing that?
I think it just has to do with the climate that we see in the United States right now. You know what I mean? I think that in the days leading up to, I guess, that joint session of Congress, I think we all saw a different, we saw a change in Macron. We saw that buddy-buddy bromance thing that they had going on. But then he took it upon himself to push the issues that he thought were very pertinent and very important for society to recognize. Not only did he push nationalism, but he pushed climate change, which is something that Donald Trump is vehemently opposing. You know what I mean? I think that it was his moment to say, hey, America, climate change is a real thing, and you guys need to start doing something about it again, because as I'm sure he wasn't probably happy that we pulled out of the Paris agreements.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, he mentioned it both in his speech, his address to Congress, and he also talked about it a little bit at the town hall.
He ended it, the town hall, with it.
No, he did, and he basically, I mean, Macron is very, very strongly standing by his stance of there is only one planet, there's only one Earth, there is no planet B. Those were his words in Congress.
And France has been about that for decades.
Absolutely.
Now. They've made a lot of advancements in terms of their nuclear program and different programs like that to save energy.
Yeah, and he was also there. Somebody asked him a question about the EU, and he is trying to keep the EU together, trying to fight those forces that want to take away from globalization and being connected, those nationalist things that we've seen here in America and also in Great Britain with Brexit.
And in France.
And in France, too. So it's interesting to see him taking this a lead in foreign policy more than previous French presidents.
I think he's really interesting because France has long been known, and he acknowledged this, that, listen, my country is not used to hearing these kinds of things. That France has long been known for being you're a French citizen first and anything else second. Somebody else asked about religious representation, you know, in an anti-Semitic way and also an Islamophobic way. Is it okay for me to, or not me, but people to walk out and display their religious affiliation? And for a long time in France, the answer to that question would have been no. And there's still a lot of people who feel like the answer should be no. But Macron made it clear that he wants to harbor in this climate in France that basically says, no, we're going to accept everybody for everything they bring to us. France is better off for being a diversely cultured country, not less so.
And on that note, he said he was a very strong believer in the EU, and that was kind of one of the core challenges in his campaign. But he believes that the EU is the best way to organize themselves being Europe, and that he has a few policies that he wants to implement in order to get some success out of it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I think we're gonna have to leave it there. I wish we could talk more about President Macron, but we will be back with more GWeek right after this. Stay with us.
A Christian privilege seminar hosted by GW's Multicultural Student Services Center in April gained national attention on conservative networks such as Fox News. The seminar was an open discussion about the advantages Christians may or may not experience on campus and around the world. The name of the event sparked outrage with conservative groups and caused event organizers to prohibit any filming of the seminar.
On April 23rd, a man threatened individuals with a knife in front of Bluestone Lane Coffee Shop on the corner of 23rd Street Northwest and L Street Northwest. At around 2:20 p.m., authorities arrived at the scene and were yelled at by the suspect. He was taken down by a taser, and footage was captured of the subject falling to the ground and being handcuffed by several officers. The suspect is now in custody and no injuries were reported.
The Colonial Health Center has announced a series of changes for the fall. GWeek reporter Devin Link sat down with the SA Director of Student Health Services, Reed Ellman, to hear what students should expect from the CHC next fall.
After months of student advocacy, we can expect to see several changes to the CHC next semester. Reed Ellman led the council that proposed these new policies.
Those changes include a mandatory student health waiver, changes to ensure the quality of care in the Colonial Health Center, including an electronic health record system. They're also going to be bringing on some new staff in the Office of Health Promotion and a new dietitian. Previously, students were capped at 6 hours of free mental health services. They're removing that cap to ensure that students have access to quality and affordable mental health care.
These changes were motivated by student concerns about affordability and access to health care at GW.
A lot of students maybe have health insurance that works for them in their home state, but but it doesn't necessarily work here in DC. So figuring out ways that we can make sure that all students don't have to worry about being able to access care in DC and at the CHC.
Some students have expressed concerns that this new insurance mandate will force low-income students to buy health insurance they cannot afford. But Elman assured me this is not the case.
There's been some misinformation out there about what the insurance waiver means for students. It does not require students to purchase the university's health insurance. That's just simply not the case. What it does is it requires university students to comply with federal law. The Affordable Care Act already requires that everyone have health insurance. This is simply bringing us in compliance with that federal law. For low-income students or students who might have issues paying for the plan but want it anyway, the university is committed to finding ways to offset the cost for students, whether it's through financial aid or grants, to make sure that students have the ability to afford the health insurance that they need.
I'm Devin Link, reporting for GWeek.
Thanks, Devin. Former First Lady Barbara Bush died at the age of 92 at her home in Houston on April 17th. She was the wife of 41st President George H.W. Bush and the mother of 43rd President George W. Bush. She was the only First Lady to see both her husband and her son sworn into office. Miss Bush was very active during her time in the White House, advocating for literacy and human rights. She was nicknamed the Enforcer because of her wit and outspoken nature as the matriarch of the Bush political dynasty. She was laid to rest on the grounds of Texas A&M University College Station, the home to the George H.W. Bush Presidential Library. And we'll be right back.
Welcome back. The GW administration recently released their long-awaited action plan on diversity in response to discussions about race that occurred on campus following the racist Snapchat scandal. The report outlined mandatory diversity training for students and faculty, and a new diversity and inclusion training director, and a bias incident reporting system. Students can expect to see these changes begin in the fall.
The Mount Vernon Express, more fondly known as the VEX, will be seeing an upgrade this summer. It'll be operated by a new company, RMA Worldwide Chauffeured Transportation, starting July 1st. These new shuttles will include Wi-Fi and hybrid engines. The standard VEX schedule is not expected to change. And in 3 incidents unrelated to the announcement, a VEX shuttle got stuck on the driveway at the Mount Vernon campus after one of its tires went over the curb in the rain. 2 other VEX shuttles had to be towed out of the Vern due to mechanical issues that caused delays. All 3 incidents took place over a 3-day period.
On April 18th, GW Law alum Michael Avenatti sat down with GW Law's Dean Blake D. Moran and law professor Jonathan Turley in the Jack Wharton Auditorium to discuss the current political climate as well as the court case rocking Washington involving the president's attorney Michael Cohen and adult film star Stormy Daniels. Avenatti spoke about his time at GW Law, especially his experience in his first ever law class with Professor Turley himself. And in the audience were John Heilman and Alex Wagner, executive producers of Showtime's The Circus, inside the wildest political show on Earth.
Earlier this month, 2 ceilings collapsed in bathrooms of Thurston Hall, forcing some freshmen to move out of the residence hall for a week. The students were relocated to other dorms on the Foggy Bottom campus while their bathrooms were being repaired. According to Brooke Witherford, a freshman living in Thurston, this was a major inconvenience as my 6-person room had to be split up into FSK, District House, and Mitchell Hall for an entire week. Housing is working hard to make sure all of the affected bathrooms are back and up and running properly as soon as possible.
Columbian College is offering a new interdepartmental major for the next academic year. Students will soon be able to earn a bachelor's degree in either neuroscience or cognitive neuroscience. we sent GWeek reporters James Paidusis and Parker Jensen to find out what this new major entails and what it means for the university.
GW is unveiling a new cognitive neuroscience program starting fall of 2018. We sat down with Professor Kravitz, one of the assistant professors of the new cognitive neuroscience program, to talk about the establishment of the new major, the future of the field, and what this means for GW.
Cognitive neuroscience is really a discipline that tries to associate human behavior with underlying physiology, generally, with some animal behavior as well. And what we do is we see some organism engaging in a complex behavior. As tightly as possible, we take measurements of the physiology and how it changes while that behavior is occurring, and then we try to associate the two together. I think it's very important. At the level of sort of undergraduate education and at the level of the sort of direction that the academic profession is going. So this is one of the sort of most rapidly growing fields in the academic side. A huge number of researchers are interested in it. A number of really important developments are starting to be made. And I think it broadens also the general neuroscience community in the area, which is really great. So we had received a call from the administration last year around this time saying that they were interested in doing something like this because a bunch of undergraduates were creating their own self-initiated majors that were very much like neuroscience. And they asked if we wanted to put together a formal program, and I designed sort of the first version, and then my co-director Damien O'Halloran came on and we refined it down with all the other faculty, and we got to this. So the interesting thing about the major was we really designed it using pretty much existing courses. There are a couple of courses that have been developed for it, but most of the courses were already offered. So we have a number of not just cognitive neuroscientists, but clinicians, applied social program specialists as well, and we're always looking to make that bigger, and there's a fair amount of interest on campus in that sort of regardless. I think that it's always good when you're sort of meeting student demand, so in terms of the popularity with the undergraduates, I would assume that this will help. It's a major that was largely created to meet that demand, and so it should help students to organize their sort of undergraduate experience a little bit better.
From GWeek, I'm James Paidusis.
Thanks, James and Parker. When we come back, we talk to the GW senior who helped make the new neuroscience program a reality. GWeek's Rudy Venkatesan sits down with Jamie Kleiner next. Stay with us.
Raise high. This isn't just our battle cry. It's our call, our challenge. Because when you are called to Washington, you are called to higher expectations, to a higher standard. We are called here to advance knowledge, to serve society, to change the world. This is the George Washington University, and what we make is history. So stand up, be bold, take risks, press on, push harder, raise high.
Welcome back. I'm Ruti Venkatesan, and here with us now is senior Jamie Kleiner, who played an instrumental role in developing the new neuroscience program here at the George Washington University. Jamie, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So the viewers don't know, we talked a little bit earlier, and you told me that coming to GW as a freshman, you wanted to be a political science and a cognitive science major. However, 4 years later, you're a poli-sci and a psychology major, yet you spent the past 4 years of your education trying to push for this neuroscience program. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So I came into GW, initially my focus was in political science, but I was very interested in pursuing cognitive neuroscience. As a freshman, I had heard about the interdisciplinary major that GW offers students. So it's called a SIM for short, a special interdisciplinary major.
And a lot of kids don't know that the interdisciplinary major is hard. It's not something easy that students can do.
Yeah, it requires proposing the major, so you have to be accepted into it first. And it also requires putting together a team of professors and staff that really support you and back you for your college career. You have to create your own curriculum and really all the necessities that go into having a major at an institution is really on your plate. So I was interested in pursuing that for cognitive neuroscience, but when I had found out about the difficult steps that it took to create the cognitive neuroscience major, I questioned whether I was able to do that and also pursue political science. And at that time, I also had found out that you cannot double major when creating a major at GW. One of the reasons they have that rule in place is because this program to create a major is really meant for disciplines that most universities would not have, that are very uncommon and specific to the person. So I felt that that didn't really fit the bill for creating a cognitive neuroscience major, because it is such a progressive field, and it is advancing so much, and is common.
You said that kids here at GW, if they were given the option to create this interdisciplinary major, a lot of them pursued actually creating the neuroscience major, didn't they?
Yes, yes. So in the process around my freshman year in working to create a neuroscience major, I actually found out that neuroscience was the most popular proposed sim at GW. So that really demonstrated, that there is a population at GW that, are passionate about neuroscience and want to pursue that field of study, and that there is definitely a lack of the major in the institution.
So you talked earlier about how meeting with Peter Kay and former President Knapp actually garnered you a lot of attention, garnered this upcoming major a lot of attention.
Yes. So in my sophomore year, as I was really getting into the nitty-gritty of pursuing both trying to create the independent major, but also advocating for not having to create a special sim major for cognitive neuroscience, and trying to advocate for actually having this be a major that is accessible and available to all students that want to pursue it. I did meet with President Knapp and Peter Kay, which was very exciting. I initially met during their office hours that they leave available to students, and then they invited me back to speak further. President Knapp was actually surprised and was unaware that we had this lack of a major and such a population of students that wanted to pursue it. So I think it really was a matter of getting the attention of the administration to make them aware of this lack of a major and the passion that a lot of students have for this field, for us to really hit the ground running with this project.
But you said earlier that creating this major, it wasn't without blockades, it wasn't without barriers. You said that GW had all the resources and they had all of, I guess, the necessities, but they weren't able to create it as fast as you'd hoped.
So the thing about neuroscience is that it is a very difficult field in terms of organizing how to get it on a college campus. The reason for that is because it is so interdisciplinary. You can go so many avenues in neuroscience. You could go cognitive neuroscience, you could study evolutionary neuroscience, anthropology, philosophy, psychology, biology, all these different aspects of neuroscience. Makes it very difficult to figure out where to house the program. So I think that was the biggest challenge in trying to create the program, in figuring out logistics, because GW did have the professors already here, the students wanting to and already studying it, and the courses. But the courses were spread out between 4 to 5 different departments.
So it was really a matter of kind of reining it all in. And so you had actually mentioned earlier as well that where your part really played was creating the curriculum. And that's so interesting to me that a GW student, a graduating GW student who's not even going to major in it, was so instrumental in picking the courses that were required to actually major in this.
Yeah, so I think, where I really, benefited the program in, helping figure out what classes to put into the curriculum was that although I am not graduating with the title on my degree of neuroscience, as I said earlier, the classes are here at GW, and I have been taking them for 4 years, along with many students just like me. So it really was a matter of kind of using me as the guinea pig in figuring out what classes worked, what classes didn't, and I did have that insight between departments to kind of meld the professors together that were working on this, because we had professors working from psychology, from biology, from anthropology, philosophy, and those professors can really only speak about the courses in their department, whereas students like myself
you had the
insight in between departments. So
So you had mentioned earlier that as a female who's in STEM, that your abilities were questioned throughout this process. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So I think unfortunately we're still in a place in history where it is a bit taboo to have women in STEM, in science and technology, and especially to be leaders in the field. You know, I would be lying if I didn't say that there were points in my career in college where I questioned my ability. I questioned whether I would be taken seriously in my work and my research. And, you know, that's unfortunate. But if there's one thing that I want students to take away from this process is that I want this project to be a token of a example when a woman in STEM not only was able to come to the table, but also able to be a leader and advocate both for myself but for other students and students that'll come after me.
So what exactly do you think will be the greater impact of having this kind of major or this program at GW?
So I definitely think that there is a trend taking place in GW, not necessarily, you know, away from our historical roots of being, you know, centered in humanities and political science. GW will always be the center of political science, and we're very proud of that. But I do think we are also seeing a shift to be more inclusive of fields like science and technology, like neuroscience, and I think our horizons are broadening. So I think that this is another push forward to taking in more students that are going to be pursuing the science fields in GW.
That's great. So I have just one last personal question for you then. How does it feel knowing that thousands of students in the next couple decades will be graduating with a major that you really did almost single-handedly create?
It's amazing. It's really exciting. You know, this has been something that I really have poured a lot of passion into throughout my 4 years at GW, and I can only hope that, you know, we groom and train the next leaders in the field, and I'm just excited to see where this program goes, and I know that it's only the beginning.
Well, Jamie, thank you so much for being with us here today. There's more GWeek after the break. Stay with us.
Elizabeth Dewey and Brooke Witherford tried out the newest places to eat on GWorld. From Indian to Hawaiian, GW Dining continues to add a new variety of food options for students. Let's hear what they think about the newest options on GWorld.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Dewey, and today we're going to be checking out the coolest new places on GWorld. Let's go!
Our first stop is Home Slice.
Okay, so we made it to Home Slice, which is one of the newest additions to GWorld, and I just ordered a 4 cheese and garlic slice, which isn't like a pizza, it looks like this. So we'll see how it is. Okay, I just got my slice. It smells amazing. I've never had a pizza like this before, but we're about to try it out. It's gonna be great. Here we go. I'm here with Isabel Hayes, a fellow student at GW. Isabel, is this your first time at Home Slice?
Yeah, the cheese was so good on the pizza. I just love the mix of the cheeses.
So I thought my pizza was great. It was a really cool concept, really filling, a lot of different options and flavors. Definitely recommend checking this place out.
Now we're off to our next stop.
Right now we're at the Taj of India, which is one of the newest additions to the GW dining plan on GWorld, and it's in Georgetown, right on the beginning of M Street. Okay, so first we're trying the Cha Property. No, chicken in it. Like, whatever, like basically their livestock. And then one day, I'm here with my friend Surabi, who has family from India and has been to India numerous times.
Lived in India at one point in my life.
What do you think of the food, Surabi?
I have to say, for American quality, the food is good. Is it authentic Indian food? God, no. But it does come close.
We had a really good time at Taj of India. They took the GWorld no problem. So let's go get some more food.
Our last stop brings us right down to the district basement.
Now we're here at Analicious Poke, and Brooke ordered the classic sake with brown rice and seaweed salad. So we'll let you guys know how it is. Wait, should I? Looks good. Oh, so good. So I tried a bite of Brooke's poke bowl, and I have to say it's very good. Totally recommended. Big competitor for Rules by You poke bowl.
Thanks for restaurant hopping with us. This is Elizabeth Dewey, reporting for GWeek.
Are you hungry? I sure hope so, because GW's Mount Vernon campus dining plan is receiving a makeover, welcoming an all-you-care-to-eat venue at Phelim Commons, as well as an a la carte service in Ames Hall. This change comes after Restaurant Associates, the university's current dining provider, announced in December that it was ending its ties with GW, handling overall the responsibilities to Sage Dining Services. Beginning June 1st, Sage will officially operate the 2 dining halls on the Vern, as well as its catering in the summer.
After a short hiatus, the Renwick Gallery reopened with a new exhibit, No Spectators, The Art of the Burning Man. This exhibit, which fills the entire room, allows spectators to honor their late loved ones by adding their names to the walls. Michael Schnell and Julia Albert visited the gallery to check it out.
On March 30th, the Renwick Gallery introduced a new exciting exhibit, No Spectators, The Art of Burning Man. Every year in Black Rock Desert, Nevada, large-scale art establishments are put on display and others are burned to the ground in tradition. Because of this event's large significance, David Best and the Burning Man Project, a nonprofit organization that oversees the Burning Man event in Nevada, decided to replicate it at the Renwick Gallery. The Burning Man exhibit spans throughout the entire museum, but the crown jewel is located in the Grand Salon, where a temple was built to mimic the extravagant temples at the event in Nevada. The exhibit is interactive, allowing museum goers to write the names of their late loved ones on a piece of wood and stick it to the wall in a symbolic way to display their memory. In addition, individuals can be seen laying on the floor of the exhibit praying, as if they are in a real temple. Let's talk to Kevin Taylor, a volunteer at the Renwick Gallery, to hear his thoughts on the exhibit.
The temple here is I think it's very moving for me, as I've been to a couple of Burning Mans before, and just kind of coming in here had a very kind of special feeling.
Many regarded the Burning Man exhibit as powerful and spiritually touching. So, be sure to check out the display, especially the temple, before it's too late. I'm Michael Schnell, reporting from the Renwick Gallery for GWeek.
And finally, we have an adorable update from our last show. The Smithsonian National Zoo welcomed a new member of their family on April 16th with the birth of a baby gorilla. Moki is a male western lowland gorilla, a species considered critically endangered and the zoo's first birth in a decade. The exhibit is currently closed so that the parents can be with Moki, but it will open if Moki's continues to be in good health. We would like to congratulate Kelaya on her delivery and wish Moki all the best. And joining us now is Rudy. Rudy, what brings you back?
Well, boys, as it is your last show, on behalf of everyone here at GWeek, we wanted to say we're very excited to see you leave.
Oh, thank you. That's very, very kind.
Such great news.
We want to thank you for all of the work you guys have put in for the past 4 years on GWeek. We started at a very different place than where we ended, and I don't think our show would be anything that it is now without you both. And just because it is our senior send-off, Alec, do you know a Jamie Kleiner? She was in studio before.
Name rings a bell.
Name rings a bell. Yeah, your lovely
Sounds
girlfriend was in studio. Lovely and impressive girlfriend was in studio, and she had a couple things to say about you.
Oh,
Let's
great.
take a look. So, Jamie, we have to ask, because it's our senior special edition episode, what do you know? What is embarrassing about Alec?
So I have about 3 years of gossip that I can lay on
Then
you.
we'll be here all day.
I will say, I think Alec's just embodiment is being a sassy dad. There are times where he is amazingly a diva. We bond, in the beginning of our relationship, we bonded over both being obsessed with Michael Jackson.
Good.
And that is something that we shamelessly continue to enjoy together. He's very passionate about hitting the high notes when we sing that together, and he has a singing range that is higher than mine.
What is his favorite song?
Oh gosh, he dances to Billie Jean. I'm also obsessed with Sia, so I make him do interpretive dances to Sia as well.
Do you have videos?
He's gonna kill me. I do have videos. I may have to talk that up with him.
We'll talk after.
Like, I didn't know you were a huge Michael Jackson fan there.
No comment.
No comment?
No comment.
You think you'll be able to still sing Billie Jean for us?
No, I'm gonna have to say no to that.
Okay.
For today.
So, well,
Yeah.
Devon.
Yes.
You did not get away from this as well.
Oh.
Our lovely, lovely incoming general manager, Andy Weber, sat down with me and had a little bit to say.
Oh,
Let's take a look at that.
No. Good.
What is the best memory or the funniest thing you remember about Devon?
Well, Devon was always very helpful when we launched our live sports product, and I think we were sometimes short-staffed, so he'd come in and do some anchoring for us, and sometimes it would show that he didn't know he didn't know what he was talking about, but he was still a confident anchor. He would often he often relied on the reporters a lot for their questions, for their information, but he was doing his best. I actually recall when he was doing a baseball story for GWeek, he couldn't say Scherzer's last name. He tried 6 times to pronounce
Max Scherzer,
Max
and he would
Scherzer,
go,
right,
Max
yeah.
Scherzer.
Yeah, but he's learned to come into his stride, and he's been able to acquire those skills, and I think sports is tough for him, but he's trying his best.
Devon, well, boys, we couldn't send you away without embarrassing you, but we really do want to say thank you. I know personally I wouldn't be the journalist I am today without you guys, and I'm sure a lot of the kids here agree. If you guys want to say anything before.
Well, thank you, and I'm in particular going to thank Devon, and you too, of course, for Devon in particular, because I've been around here for the last 2 years, but Devon has obviously been involved since close to day one here, at least based on what I know, and it really shows. And you've helped grow the show and this entire GWTV family here into what it is today. So I'm really grateful, and you should be proud of everything that you've done.
Thank you, Alec.
Because we are of you.
Thank you. I guess I don't want to cry, but yeah, thank you guys for the memories. And yeah, I've been here for 4 years, and this is the biggest group I've ever seen in GWTV and GWeek. And I know from here going forward it's going to be growing. And I know that it's in capable hands of you and Andy. And just thank you for the memories. You guys have made my senior year, everyone, even the people backstage, very memorable. And I'm going to miss you guys, and I wish we had more time together, especially with all these new freshmen.
It's hard.
But it's going to be good.
Yeah,
a lot of potential.
I just have to thank the Crossfire team too. I've worked with them pretty closely for the last 2 years as well, both those that are still here and those who have graduated. Thank you guys as well. It's been a wonderful time.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
thank God I'm not wearing mascara, because I would be running out if I was wearing that.
Well, this comes to the end of our GWeek episode. Devon, Alec, sign off for us.
Okay. Well, I guess you could.
I guess I'm taking the reins here.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning into GWeek. Have a great summer. Best of luck on finals. We'll see you in the fall, or at least those of us who are sticking around.
And you can find the latest episodes of all GWTV programming on www.gw-tv.com. And I guess we'll see you around campus. Well, we won't, but everyone else will. Thank you for watching.